Good morning. This is Cindy at Blue Star Antiques, and I thought I would show you how to paint fabric with Fusion mineral paint. So today I'm going to be painting the fabric on this chair. It's an awesome chair. Beautiful wood, but the fabric's just dated. It's in great shape. I don't want to have to mess with reupholstering. This is a little bit beyond my skill set. But I can paint it and it'll give a gorgeous finish. And so I thought I would walk you through the steps of how to paint Fusion mineral paint. So the first thing I'm finishing up today is I've taken a little bit of Vaseline and I'm just brushing it around the fabric on the wood. And that way if I get any splatters or misses with the paint, it'll be really easy to get off the wood since I'm not going to be painting the wood. Probably if I were painting the wood on a chair, I would paint the wood first and then come back and paint my fabric. I think that's what I would do. And then you're probably going to have to tape off so that you can be really careful. But I'm not painting the wood, so I've just come around and I'm putting the finishing touches with some Vaseline. I just use an old paintbrush and some Vaseline and I paint it around on the wood, and then after we paint, you'll see how easy it is to get the paint splatters and stuff off when we wipe back all that Vaseline. So that's the first step. I have already vacuumed, and so the fabric is dust-free. So it is ready to paint. So I am painting in a color called Cathedral Taupe, and it is a taupey beige, and I have mixed up a mixture of about half paint and half water for my first coat. I'm using a Stallmeister brush, and this one is a pointed sash, and the point is going to help me get into some of the nooks and crannies really easily. So the first step, all I'm going to do with this watered down paint is just begin to paint it on. It will get real sheer coverage that you can see the color of the fabric still shows through. That's okay. We're not trying to accomplish this in one coat. And adding the water helps with your final finish, keeps it from being too stiff. And when we finish, this will probably be 3 coats. When we finish, it's going to give a finish that feels more like leather. It won't crack, but it will have a nice stiff feel to it. So I'll show you that in the end. So step 1 is just to take this, I didn't measure, I just kind of eyeballed and did about half paint and half water, and I want to make sure I get a good first coat everywhere. Because it's soaking into fabric, it may take a little while to dry. And that's okay. I've got other projects going on that I will go and work on it in between time. I'm just going to brush around, and so you can kind of see we're getting some coverage, but it's fairly sheer because I've added the water. Fusion by itself has great coverage. But when we watered it down with the water, it gives it a more sheer finish. So, I'm almost out of paint here. I'm going to have to go get another batch. But that's step 1. Step 1 is to give it a first coat with about 50-50 water and let it dry. And then I'll come back later and we'll go over step 2. Hang in there and be sure and watch. Day 2 to do some more work on painting the fabric on this great old chair. The fabric was in great shape, but dated pattern, and so I wanted to give it a fresh look. So yesterday, as you may recall, I put Vaseline around the edges on the wood so that if I get paint on the wood, I don't have to panic, it will come off easily. And I gave it all one coat of a mix of half cathedral taupe and half water. So it's a real light wash. As you can see, you can still see the design on the fabric and the colors, but it is a different color. It is getting more that taupey kind of color. So today I'm going to do step 2. I'm going to do my second coat of paint. And before I paint, I need to sand. So right now, you can see the fabric is still soft and pliable, but it's got a little bit of roughness to it because of the paint. And so I'm taking, this is a 150 grit sanding sponge that I had around, and I'm just going to basically sand the fabric and soften it up a little bit before I put on my second coat. Okay, and that's it, and you can see it wasn't, didn't take a lot of time. I can feel the difference, and I missed this over here, and I can feel it. Okay, so now it feels all smooth, and I kind of wipe off sanding dust, and then I am ready for my second coat of paint. So today the paint is a mix of about 3 parts paint and 1 part water. So this is a 25% water today. So we're decreasing our water. Just mix that in a little bit. I'm using my Stallmeister pointed sash, which is going to help me get into some of the tight spots. And I'm just going to come in and paint a second coat. And you can tell already from the coverage, it's more coverage than yesterday, because there's more paint in the mix. And this is where that pointed sash is helpful. It gets into some of these little tight little crevices. And I'm just painting it on. I can still see the raised design in the fabric, but you can see that the color is going away. And that's kind of what I want. I want a little bit more of a solid color. I got a little bit on the wood, and I'm not worried about it. I can see where it beat it up right away because of the Vaseline. So that will come right off when I'm finished. So see, this is super simple. Just brush it on. Just am painting away. I'm going to need to go mix up some more paint. But that gives you an idea. Right? So that's step 2. Second coat of paint is 75% paint, 25% water. And I'm getting a whole lot better coverage, but I can still see the pinks and blues peeking through. So I know it's going to take a 3rd coat, and that's the plan. 3 coats of paint. So I'm going to go refill my paint and finish step 2, and then I will see you later for step 3. Okay, I'm back, and it is time for the next step on painting the fabric on this chair. So I let this dry overnight, so it's good and dry. Right now it feels really rough and not fun. So the next thing I'm gonna do again, in between coats, is sand. I think this block is probably a 150. Nothing real magical about that. So, get my paint out of the way. So I'm just gonna come in and sand the paint. And you can feel it feels much softer, and you can feel the spots that you missed with the sandpaper. Okay, so it's that simple, just to sand it down and make it smooth again. And kind of wipe off the a little bit of sanding dust. I really don't have much. And then we are ready for our third coat of paint. You can tell from the first 2, we've gotten progressively darker, but I can still see the color coming through on this pattern. So today's coat of paint should take care of that. Today I'm going straight paint with no water. And I'm using my pointed Stallmeister, the pointed sash, because this point on the brush is going to help get into some of these little areas. And I'm going straight paint. So I'm just going to paint that on. And I'm getting full coverage now, so that's good. And this is where that pointed Stallmeister kind of helps, is getting in some of these areas here. Sometimes I will swirl, trying to make sure I fill in all the fibers in the weave. But there's not a grain like there is, you know, when you're painting wood, so I don't feel like I have to go in one direction either. Now then, once I've got this all painted, the large areas painted, I'm gonna come back with a craft brush. And it's gonna let me get in and get the piping, make sure the piping has a good coat of paint, and get some of the little tiny places that the Stallmeister just wouldn't reach. I can do that with this little artist brush. all along the edge, all along the piping. I'm going to make sure it's got good coverage. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do next, is finish up this third coat of paint on this chair. And we're going to let it dry, and then I'll be back to show you the final big reveal. So stay tuned. Hey, okay, so I'm back for the last step on getting these painted chairs finished up. And what I've been doing is cleaning off the paint that had splattered on the wood. And you may remember that I put Vaseline around to make it clean up pretty easy, and it has been. So what I'm actually using is just one of my green scrubbies, and I spray some water on it and just kind of scrub where I see paint splatters, and then wipe it back with a towel, and I'm getting the last bit of this paint splatters off. So it is cleaned up really, really nicely. And so that's pretty much it for the paint. So then the last thing to do, we have one more step on the fabric that we've painted. This last coat was 100% paint, and you can see I've got full coverage now. I don't know if you can tell in the video, but you can still see the pattern in the fabric, which is kind of cool. It's a really pretty pattern, but the color is gone, and it's this is Cathedral Taupe, so it's a nice color. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it one more sand. And it's feeling really nice. Okay, so it's nice and smooth. I don't know if you can tell, but it does not crack when I put pressure on it. It's not going to crack. It was a fairly stiff fabric to begin with because it was an upholstery fabric. So it was fairly stiff to begin with. And now it's almost like canvas. So it's a nice thick fabric, but it's got great give. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a coat of wax on it. I don't have to. I could leave it just like this. The wax is going to give it a little bit more of a leather-like feel. I really like using Fusion's beeswax finish on these. So there we go. And I just put it on with a rag. I need to kind of ball it up so I can have a little bit more control. So there is a very subtle color change. I can barely tell the difference between where I've put the wax and where I haven't. It's very subtle. I may come back with a rag, just a clean part of this rag, and just wipe it down just to make sure I've kind of smoothed it around and wiped up all the excess. But that's it. And this is going to be just gorgeous when I finish the wax, and I have 2 of these. So these will be going into the shop soon. A pair of these great chairs. They're so neutral and elegant. They'll fit in lots of decor. They are very well made and nice firm seating. So even though the legs are a little bit short, you don't sink down, and it's not hard to get up. It's really easy to get up because the seating is so firm, and they're just a great pair of chairs. So maybe you can do that with a pair of your chairs, or a project that you've got, something that you'd like to give some fresh life without having to mess with reupholstering. That's the beauty of painting with Fusion Mineral Paint. And once this cures, and it'll take 2 or 3 weeks for it to cure, then this is going to be waterproof, and so it's going to be a great finish for chairs. I have painted kitchen chair cushions, and that's another great way to add some protection to your kitchen chairs and give it a fresh look. And it's super easy. And those would be a whole lot quicker than this, because this had the seat, had the arms, has this, and there's fabric on the back. And so I've been doing that whole process all along. So that's it. That's how you paint fabric with Fusion Mineral Paint. If you have questions, comment, and I will be glad to answer and help you with your project. I've got paint available at mybluestarantiques.com. And if you're local, come see me at Rust and Roses on South 14th. I've got all the paint supplies available there as well. So you guys have a great afternoon, and I will talk to you later. Bye.